I want to introduce Catherine Cole. Catherine, how are you? Come on up. Catherine is actually the executive director of MOTIF, and she'll tell you more about that, which is, I think, going to be launching this year from Alvanon, and is actually a connection hub between professionals globally and industry expertise that can allow them to transform and or build their companies. So, Catherine?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I've come all the way in from Hong Kong, and there's a few of us here today from Hong Kong, and it's about 2 a.m. my time. So I figure if I keep moving across the stage, I'll be all right. But maybe you guys could throw things at me if you see me nodding off. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to present the results of an industry survey that we did last year. And this is a little bit different from the conversation that went before and will go afterwards. And why am I presenting it here today with this topic of one size does not fit all? The reason is this is a great conversation starter of how we serve underrepresented markets. And we know we're seeing there's a huge opportunity there. But the question is, it's not enough for our designers to be thinking about how do we design for these markets. We need to take this thinking, the one size does not fit all, upmarket into our supply chain. So the question is, do our product development teams, do our technical people really understand what it means to design for plus sizes or adaptive markets? What about your Asian vendors or factories? Do they even know what a plus size is, given that these are not common sizes in their own markets? They can barely handle me just because I'm tall and I have big feet. So this all comes down to skills and talent. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today. I'm just going to give you the highlights of this survey that we did. So the context behind this is, in 2018, there's still a lot of stress on executives around the hot topics of Industry 4.0, smart factories, and we're still hearing a lot about retail disruption. Meanwhile, we're starting to hear a whisper in the sidelines. What does this mean for our employees? What's it mean for our skills and talents? And I say whisper because it has not made the mainstream yet. It's not a main stage discussion yet. It's something that's still happening off at the sides. So last fall, Alvanon launched this industry survey. And the reason we did this was to get a read on how urgent this issue was. Is it on the radars of senior executives? Is this an urgent issue? What about our employees? How are they thinking about this in relation to their own professional skills and career development? So Alvanon and MOTIF launched this survey, and we did it with the support of 13 global, regional, national, and local industry associations. So I'm proud to say we hit almost every continent, every major organization stepped up and supported our survey. So again, I'm going to show you the insights. Today, everyone here will receive an exclusive copy of this by email. And within the next few weeks, it'll also be available for download on alvanon.com. So who filled the survey out? We had 642 respondents. 64% were managers or above, so these are people that actually have responsibility for teams. 30% from Asia, 30% from North America, 25%, we had a great showing from South America, 25%, 15% from Europe and the rest of the world. 78% were 36 years old and above. That means only 22% were millennials. So that's something interesting to note here. 50% came from technical design and product development roles. When we asked them what kind of company they were, and they could choose more than one of these, 39% associated with being brands, 20% as a retailer, 19% sourcing companies, and 33% were factories. Okay, so is this an urgent issue? Is there a sense of urgency? 73% said that employee learning and skills development is a key business issue. So this is a hot topic in other industries. And my takeaway from the survey is the apparel industry is lagging behind a little bit. This is, Deloitte did a study and showed that skill development and talent development is the #2 business issue these days behind going digital. So it's a hot topic in other industries. We're lagging behind a little bit. 73% is not bad and shows there is still concern among executives. Okay, 62% say that they're having difficulty filling certain positions due to a lack of skilled workforce. That there's a huge disconnect between students that are graduating from university and when they come into the workforce, and also later where we're seeing that there's a new blend of skills that's needed and companies are having trouble finding these skills. Over 50% of respondents were concerned about this lack of training and development opportunities. I was at Text Process just a couple weeks ago, and this is a quote from the CEO of Henderson Sewing Machines. Our biggest challenge is the retirement of the baby boomer generation. The really big problem is the loss of knowledge when people leave the workforce. We are in a war for talent, says Carter's. Only 50% of people that filled out this survey have taken some sort of training in the last minute. Can I get a show of hands? How many of you in the last year have done some kind of professional development workshop related to your career? It could be personal interest, but just related what you do for your job. So that's pretty good. How many of you have taken an online course? A little bit smaller, okay. I thought that was actually shocking. Only 50% have taken training in the last year. Only 16% of managers claim their companies have done some sort of skill assessment of their whole workforce, and this is a big topic across all the other industries. We're lagging behind. Less than 30% say their company uses an internal learning management system. That means the rest either aren't doing training or they're going outside and trying to find relevant content for training. Great quote from a CEO of the major lingerie manufacturer. There's a huge gap between what our employees learn in school and what real life is like in a factory. How many of you have been on a production floor, have been in a factory? Actually, that's pretty good. We're finding a lot of people these days, production teams just are not fully aware of what it's like to be in a factory. Okay, satisfaction with training material that's out there. Less than half were satisfied with current training. 30% expressed extreme dissatisfaction. And the biggest source of dissatisfaction was relevancy of content. And we have many anecdotal stories to support this. People just can't find the right content out there. Time and budget constraints are the biggest roadblocks to enhance training for managers. And employees said they just don't have the time. They're not getting the support from their managers, and also irrelevancy of the training material. And 88% strongly agreed that continuous learning, job relevancy, to stay relevant in their job, and job satisfaction are the most important reasons for training. And I want to point out, LinkedIn Learning did a study that showed that among millennials, and I thought this was surprising, 94%, the most important thing for them was continuous professional development. It's not flexible working hours. It's not work environment. It's actually having the ability to continually refresh their skills and professional development. Okay, training needs. When asked what type of skills were needed and what's not provided, actually technical training ranked very high. So I think companies are finding they have access to soft skills training, management training, but there's a real lack of technical training that has best practices and case studies from real world examples. 70% of business leaders believe that more investment needs to be put into training. Big thing here, budgets are not matching this. So people see the need, executives are not putting this into practice with budgets. Less than 30% have seen a budget increase in the last 2 years, and actually less than 30% are seeing a projected budget increase over the next 2 years. So to me, that's very alarming. So, in conclusion, what's this mean? It means that our industry is seeing a major skill gap. There's a lack of a real dissatisfaction of training material that's out there. There's a lack of budgets being invested in training. But I think what this also shows is there's a huge opportunity for us to rethink organizational, HR, and professional development along our supply chain. I think we're going to see a lot of very innovative solutions to this. We're already seeing some university corporate partnerships that are popping up, and I think we'll start seeing some other solution creative, whether it's startups or companies, really trying to address this with creative solutions. So I think that's the positive out of all this. And I leave that thought with you today, that it's all about how we think about skills and training through our supply chain so that we can truly be responsive and to our markets and to the customer needs, because one size does not fit all. Thank you.